ASIO driver. Okay, so let's look at the ASIO driver. In this case, we're going to look at the ASIO for All version 2. Click on this to take you to the control panel for it. And we have a couple ways to look at this. Simple just gives you the basic stuff that's listed in here. So the green means it's the running card. This means that it's available but not. Crossed out means unavailable. And this means beyond logic means that there's really nothing you can do with it. Here's your buffer size. When I'm using this card, I've got to keep the buffer size at 2048 or close to for decent sized sessions. And the only reason I'm doing that is because of the way I'm recording what I'm saying to you right now. So I'm using the live chat to talk to you, and I'm using this one to play back audio. And so in that situation, I got to keep my buffer size all the way up, which is totally fine, except if I'm playing the keyboard, there'll be a delay, a noticeable delay when I push a key. The key will push a brief moment, and then the sound will play. And that's because of this buffer size. This is what allows the program to do all it needs to do to create good sounding sound. Go to Advanced, Albert Einstein here, and of course George Bush is the simple. Here we can actually choose what we want to do. So what this is basically allowing us to do is create a custom sound card that can be used by FL Studio. And I say custom because we can actually have different parts in here, not just the same actual interface itself. So I can do the Microsoft Live Chat and the actual built-on thing into one interface that can now use that to export audio or record. I can record from both places at once. Of course, I only have the things I need selected. That's pretty good practice as well. Just use the things you need and get rid of the rest because you don't need to bog down the system. We do have a latency compensation, and that means that if you know there's a delay from the moment you say something, the microphone records it, and then it gets put in there. You can compensate for it here. That's nice. We have a buffer offset. It does not always work, it says, so I just leave that as the default. And then it says always resample 44.1 to 48 or back. That's if your interface only does one or the other, that it will resample it so that it will play out correctly. And you can also force the WDM driver to 16-bit if you need to. Okay, a little bit complicated, but the main thing you need to know is that this is where you can come get an idea of what's going on with your driver, etc. Let's go back to simple for a second and just make sure you've got green lights on the one you're expecting to use. Now that being said, close out here for a second. When you choose this, whatever you have selected in there is going to be what you use. So ASIO for All is going to right now just use this particular interface, although it could use this one. But if you have another device, like I do with my Mbox, you can actually use its ASIO driver all by itself. And when I use FL Studio all by itself without recording tutorials or courses, then you bet I'm going to use the DigiDesign driver because it's the most stable and it's designed for that hardware, and I have the best latency turnaround times. It can keep it the shortest. I play keyboards just fine, and the actual interface does the digital to analog conversion to be sent to the speakers, which it does the best as well. So that's really great. So keep that in mind. You want to use ASIO if you have it, and then the control panel changes to match whatever that device has, and so you'll need to look at the actual documentation for that interface and not listen to what I showed you for the ASIO for All, because that's separate for that particular ASIO driver. Each ASIO driver will have its own set of panels to look at. Okay, that's all for ASIO driver. It's the best. Use it as much as you can in as many situations as you can. If you don't have anything, use the ASIO for All instead of the driver that came with your other interface. I think it sounds a little bit better, more dedicated. And then you're off to the races. Let's move on.